afternoon, everyone. It's such a pleasure to see all of you again. I think the last time I spoke to you, I was speaking in the capacity as your District 5 Councilwoman. I'm hoping the next time I speak to you that I will be speaking to you in the capacity of the great mayor of the city of Stonecrest. Now let me ask you guys a question. Anybody here ever bought a house? Well, just raise your hand. Okay. So let me ask a question. When the appraisal for your house came back, you've been at the closing table, right? So now let's bring this down to earth where we are. The appraisal come back, let's say at $200,000, okay? How many of you have taken out your checkbook and wrote a check for $348,000? Remember, the appraisal came back at $200,000. By show of hands, those of you who have bought a house, how many of you have paid an additional $150,000 for the house? How many of your banks would even finance that? I can't think of one. And when you find one, bring them to me because I want to go do business with them. So that is what's happening in our city. It's been said that a great city is measured by the quality of lives of the people who live in it. And let me say that again. A great city, as I look at this young lady here, a great city is measured by the quality of lives of the people who live in it. And we have young people out here today. How many playgrounds are near here? We got this event right now in a cul-de-sac, which is great. It's cool where I'm standing. But how many playgrounds are nearby where I've counted more than 12 children since I've been out here? You know what that tells me? Quality of life is missing for our children. How many of you think it's acceptable for a proposal to have a Stonecrest Youth Council, where we couldn't get even $1 voted on by a council to fund it? And even when that didn't happen, I said, okay, we'll get Coca-Cola, Delta, and all these corporations to fund it. And the answer was still no. Did you know that? How many of you saw the legislation I proposed for the Stonecrest Youth Council? You saw it. A great piece of legislation. It's happening very well in the city of Stockbridge. Talk to my counterparts over there and say, how are you doing this? Well, you just get the council to vote on it. So I put together one specifically designed to work with the needs in our community with our youth. It would be a leadership program, a feeder program, and it couldn't even get on the agenda. Did you know that? I bet this young lady didn't know that. How many of you realize that we have a 199-foot cell phone tower in a residential area that generates how many jobs? If you know how many jobs it generates, tell me. Anybody know? Anybody? Take a guess. How many jobs are generated by it's 199 feet cell phone tower in a residential area? It generates 0 jobs. 0. In addition to that, it's illegally zoned. It's not healthy. In addition to that, the owner of the land, it's near a church, it's near a school where this little girl could be going. And the people who own the land get about $50,000 every single month. And I don't know about you, but I ain't got no cell phone signal right now. And the cell phone tower is still in place. I say dig it up. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna get my shovel. We need to dig it up. It shouldn't be there. Now, how many of you know that as the executive branch, you have a higher fiduciary responsibility, right? So we had a page and a half of audit recommendations by the auditors that we pay thousands of dollars to audit our books for the city. We had a page and a half of recommendations. How many of those recommendations since the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, have been implemented? 0. Why do you pay an auditor, ladies and gentlemen? Why do you pay an auditor if you're not going to implement the recommendations? That is the government you have in place. You must not vote for him again. You will be voting against your own best interests. You got an auditor say you need to change these things, and they're not changed. How many of you realize what's going on with your splash dollars? How many of you know the economic benefit to you and me with the $700 million bond referendum that they bragging on? Do you know what it means for you? What's the economic benefit? We all voters. I can't find one yet. I said yet. And I read. Don't you be hoodwinked on election day. You get what you vote for. This is public service. This is not a job. You should be able to pay your mortgage, your car note, and buy a little food and your insurance, put your kids through college. You should be able to do that off your own money. But when you go into public service, it is service. Teach our children the value of public service. It is not a job. Our mayor wants a 250% increase on day one on the job, May 8th, 2017. I vividly remember the council meeting. The first thing on the agenda was, I need a raise. I can't work for $20,000. I need $85,000. Well, nobody can live off $20,000. But he knew what it was before he went in office. You know what that's called? Holding him accountable. And he said to you publicly, I will not stop trying to get this $85,000 salary until I get it, quote unquote. That's who you're going to vote for? I think all of you are smart because I know most of you. I've been working with most of you for 3 years, like Ms. Elamine said. Ms. Elamine is a champion for this community. Because she comes to me, she lets me know what this community wants. I have fought for you. I'll continue fighting for you. And what I have fought for was transparency. I've told Ms. Elamine every single thing, and anybody else here. Ms. Carter will tell you, I've been ethical with you. I've had integrity, and I sure as heck have been honest with you. I've never lied to you. Even when I didn't want to tell it to you, I told you. You know why? It's your government. You pay us. We represent you, and I have been your voice. I'm the only one that's been fighting for you. You got one of the brochures. Let's pass them out for this next part. I'm going to educate you today in case you